This is CBC Here and Now.
I'm very concerned that she may die before she gets the procedure, and that is a fear she has also.
There's more concerns tonight over cardiac care.
Her mother's been waiting for heart surgery since last fall, and now she's been postponed once again.
I just wanted to take a moment to welcome you all to Canada.
I was dreaming for years to come to Canada, and I got a job from my first days, so it's just perfect. Like, the local government helped me so much.
They've arrived, a plane load of Ukrainian refugees, the first flight of its kind.
Meet some of the people making a new home in Newfoundland and Labrador and those helping them settle in.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Peter Cowan. Those stories in just a few minutes, but first, a story a lot of people are talking about today, gas prices. They continue to climb.
They certainly do, Peter. In some parts of the province now, believe it or not, you'll pay as much as $2.30 per litre to fill up, and it's not just yet more personal financial pain. Here now's Garrett Barry with that story.
Just a few weeks ago, it seemed like a great idea, a mobile diesel tank to refuel gear on the go and save valuable time. But that was then.
It's around now I start getting sick. You know, we're at $372. I don't know, something about the number 400.
And this is now, a fuel pump total spinning higher and higher.
Wow. It's funny now, I'm getting that feeling in my stomach.
Since March 1st, the cost of diesel is up 90 cents per litre. And for a business where just about everything runs on fuel, that hurts.
I call myself the middle guy, right? So essentially, everything gets passed on to the customer. And so I'm the person who has to explain to the customer why, you know, these prices all of a sudden are gone through the roof.
If he's not burning diesel, he's burning gas in whippers and mowers and blowers. Gas which also jumped up today. In this racket, there's just not many ways to cut back.
What I'm doing that's different from last year is a customer would call me up, potentially, you know, just looking to get an estimate done, and I would go as quick as I could because people really like it when you show up right away, you know. But now what I'm doing is I'm waiting until I've got several, and then I'll go out and do my quotes.
So it's all passed along to the rest of us, the customers. But even then, there's a limit to how much you can push. That's why this year is already feeling different.
Pardon the pun, but I'm taking my foot off the accelerator. So instead of pushing products on people or out knocking on doors or advertising, I'm letting the people come to me. And if they say, hey, you know what, I want my lawn fertilized, okay, well, here's the price.
Oh, and about that diesel tank, the final bill for less than half a tank, almost $750.
That's enough of that for one day.
That's a lot of lawns. Garrett Barry, CBC News, Gander.
Oh, and you heard Garrett report, passing the price down to the customer. The official opposition pressed the Premier today on that and the rising cost of gas, as well as the rising cost of living.
Seniors and families are struggling to afford essentials, from food to fuel to medication. Yesterday, the Premier said more measures may be coming. The Liberal Premier has let people suffer with the rising cost of living for far too long. Is today the day the Premier announces these measures?
The Honourable the Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we know, that we can't control the price of gas. There's externalities beyond our control, the geopolitical forces at play. We saw the human face of that yesterday, Mr. Speaker, as Ukrainians arrived to the warm comfort of Newfoundland and Labrador families, Mr. Speaker. The war that's being waged by Mr. Putin, not just on Ukrainians, but indeed on the world through the economic crisis that has ensued. We're always looking, as a government, towards the cost of living, always. And that's why we've taken a holistic approach and done $142 million to address that in this budget, Mr. Speaker.
While you heard the Premier mention the war in Ukraine, community organizers are making some of those people displaced by that war feel welcome here in this province. A Facebook group called Newfoundland and Labrador Help and Host for Ukrainians has been collecting donations and connecting potential refugees with resources. Now that that first plane load has arrived, organizers hope the province will step up and help.
Oh, I was so happy for those people because finally they're safe here in Canada. They went through a lot of things, probably 30 to 30 days en route from Ukraine to Canada, and finally they're here. Yay! I remember myself when I landed to this part of the world. I was carrying literally one suitcase too, and I didn't know a thing. I didn't know how to do the groceries. I didn't know how to drive. I didn't even know how to speak English properly. So it was like, okay, this is a new chapter, this is a new life is starting, and I'm gonna make it through. I know that they're all stressed out.
You know, they're families just like us that have hopes and dreams just like us, and they want the best for their kids. And I think that's really special. I think it's resonating with lots of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who want to help them.
Right now we need hygiene products like shampoos, shower gels, razors, deodorants, soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste. We are looking for food, non-perishable food, so we can bring those to the Ukrainians. People can donate things to Lake Crest, which is at Lake Crest Independent School at 58 Patrick Street on weekdays from 8 to 3:15, and to Scraps, which is on 149 Airport Road, weekdays 9 to 5. And I'm available in CBS, and we can arrange a pickup. People can find us on Facebook group, which is called Humanitarian Aid Newfoundland to Ukraine.
I love the quote by Zita Cobb. She, the last time I heard her speak, she mentioned that our hospitality is the love of a stranger. And you can see that in this response, 100%.
Now, of course, the first flight of Ukrainian refugees arrived in St. John's at the airport at around 7 o'clock last night. The plane was carrying 166 people coming from Poland. The Premier was there to officially welcome them.
I'm the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador. I just wanted to take a moment to welcome you all to Canada and to our beautiful province of Newfoundland and Labrador. We hope we have everything that you need. We are here to welcome you. We're here to open our hearts and our homes to you. So whatever you need, please feel at home. Thank you.
Over 10 million Ukrainians have been displaced from their homes. 5 million, over 5 million, are outside of the Ukraine. That's why we established the Ukrainian Family Support Desk in Warsaw to make a direct relationship with the Ukrainians. And now today, 166 of them are about to become our neighbors.
At the moment when the war began, I was in Europe. Yeah, but I very worry about my father. He's in army now, and he just told me that as I'm in this war, you have your chance for your future. And he just, I'm very thankful for my father for this decision, because I was going to return home, but he told me, you should go and take your chance, because you have no children, so. And everything is just wonderful. Canada is great, and everything what I got already from Canada, from the government, is just perfect.
I believe we're the only government in North America that have actually now put resources to moving Ukrainians to the North American space. And no other government in Canada, and to the best of my knowledge, no other government in the United States. Encouraging employers to step up. Many of the people who will be coming off this plane today have already been arranged with job offers and could start work in Newfoundland and Labrador tomorrow morning. So one of the things we've done, we've recognized that in terms of successful resettlement, attracting people to the province, getting them to stay and feel very comfortable and be able to meet their own needs, employment is paramount.
Welcome, Stan, who's headed to Bayburt.
I was dreaming for years to come to Canada, and I got a job from my first days, so it's just perfect. Like, local government helped me so much. I'm a mining engineer, and I've got the entry job in this industry, so Just wonderful, yeah.
Well, we see this as an opportunity for, to support, Ukrainian refugees come to the province in a safe manner, and, by supporting them with employment, I think is the best opportunity that we could have. We've received 70 requests today so far about potential employment with Mary Brown's, or, looking for support of Mary Brown's to come to Canada. So it's been very overwhelming. And very rewarding for Mary Brown's and for us to be involved.
This is about a humanitarian response, but you know what? The Ukrainians are coming here with a 3-year open travel permit, capacity to be here for up to 3 years, with an open work permit as well. But you know what? We encourage them to return to Ukraine, because you know what? That means they've won. That means Ukraine has been liberated. It's back to its freedom, and so we hope that happens. But if they choose to stay in Newfoundland and Labrador, we're going to work with our provincial immigration programs to be able to provide them with a conduit, a pathway to become permanent residents of Canada and of Newfoundland and Labrador.
What a beautiful day out there today. Near cloudless sky for most areas, allowing us to see a pretty beautiful picture of the snow that is still remaining through a good chunk of Labrador and even the west coast of Newfoundland. Temperatures today, though, definitely going to put a big chunk in that, or at least we're going to start to see some melting for sure. Now, the reason for the cloudless skies, nice ridge of high pressure, seeing a little bit of cloud cover up across Labrador, but overall an absolutely gorgeous day. We are still seeing some of that ice along coastal areas of Labrador, but generally this warmth air pumping all the way from the south, all the way up through to the northern portions of Labrador. In fact, take a look at these temperatures. Now, even Kuujjuaq, 15 degrees. You should be sitting around 4 degrees this time of year. So we're seeing that warmth certainly further north. Lab City currently sitting at 20 degrees, tied with Fredericton as well, and even Toronto at about 21 degrees right now. So how long is this warmth going to stick around? Well, we're in this pattern at least through the next couple of days as we head through Wednesday and into Friday rather. We're going to start to see some of these temperatures cool down a little bit, likely still sitting in the teens for some of us. I'll get into those details when I come back.
A Torbay woman says the recent postponement of her 78-year-old mother's heart surgery has caused her family a lot of stress and fear. The head of Eastern Health's cardiac care program says surgeons have shortened wait lists for heart procedures in the past few months, but that's little comfort for the Connors family. Here now's Mark Quinn spoke with Kyla Connors earlier today. Right, Mark?
That's right, Anthony. Kyla's mother, Catherine Connors, has been waiting to have a failing heart valve replaced since last fall. Now, until recently, there was some hope that she was going to get that surgery she needed, but Connors says that that scheduled surgery, which was going to happen in 2 days on May 12th, has now been postponed.
That was heartbreaking. When Mom called me and told me it was just, she's so upset. It just ignites all that fear again. You're hopeful and then you lose that hope.
Now, Connors says the family has looked into traveling to other provinces to get the procedure, but they've been disappointed to find that wait lists in other provinces are long as well. So they've also explored going to the U.S. to possibly get the surgery there, but they found that it costs $150,000 or more, and that's just out of reach for them. Now, the good news is that Catherine Connors has been rescheduled for surgery on June 2nd, and of course her family's very keen to see that go ahead. But Kyla, who is a nurse, says they're also anxious about that as well.
I'm fearful that, this could change significantly at any point. The heart is a delicate instrument when challenged, and that's the fear we have. Each day that goes by, we're thankful for, and I don't know. We just have to wait and see. But I'm scared she's gonna. There are always risks with anybody aging. The full failure of her heart or valve is a very scary prospect.
Now, the wait list for heart surgery is shorter now than it was months ago. Eastern Health says there are now about 150 people waiting for surgery, and that's down from about 200 patients earlier this year. We'll have more of my conversation with Kyla Connors later in the show. Peter?
Thank you, Mark. That's Mark Quinn reporting live in our newsroom tonight. Now returning to the rising cost of gas, the province is going to conduct a review of the public utilities legislation with the hopes of making prices more transparent. 3 ministers announced the review today, saying it'll improve the public's knowledge of fuel pricing and the process behind it. Work on the review has been ongoing, and Service NL Minister Sarah Studley says copies of the proposed changes are going to be distributed soon, with the debate to follow. The PUB will then have an opportunity to respond.
We've consulted with them in developing the Petroleum Pricing Act changes, and then, hopefully it wouldn't be too long before we'd start to see the results of that. And some information is available now on their website, but it's certainly not very clearly and not very well understood. And some of the additional pieces that we don't, right now, government doesn't have the information on, for example, what's involved in the total allowed markup. That's kind of a mystery for us at the moment. So that's one example of one of the things that we would direct the Public Utilities Board to make very transparent for everyone.
When it comes to power, when it comes to fuel, we need to better understand why they are what they are, rather than just accepting what it is. I think we need to have a better understanding of that, and then perhaps that, does that lead to policy change? Who knows? But it certainly will lead to a better educated public, which I think all of us now feel is necessary, myself included. Many people think it's directly tied to the price of a barrel of oil, and that's not how it works.
Meanwhile, PCMHA Loyola O'Driscoll says his party welcomes a review.
How long it takes and what's in the legislation is something that, we don't know about yet. But we certainly welcome the review, and, people will be wondering, what the PUB do and how it all works. So, the people of the province right now are hurting right now. We need this review to be done as quickly as possible. But right now we need help right now today with the people of the province.
Well, to sports now. Team Canada released its official roster for the upcoming Hockey World Championships, and A. Roberts' Dawson Mercer has made the cut.
Yeah, deservedly so. The rookie for the New Jersey Devils played in all 82 NHL games this season, scored 17 goals, also added 25 assists.
Yeah, and the 20-year-old has represented Canada before, but at the junior level, meaning this is his first crack with the main team.
And the World Championships, they kick off this weekend in Finland.
To the government to hire more people as river guardians and train them as such, and also to extend their season to a longer period of time to combat the poaching going on in the rivers.
Local outdoors enthusiasts want the province to add more wildlife enforcement officers for longer periods of time to crack down on that, salmon poaching. That's next.
This weather might be getting you very excited to get outdoors. I'll tell you how long this weather will last.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Absolute final deadline is midnight, Friday, June 3rd. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Ashley, all this nice weather means that visitors come to the province to enjoy us during the nice summery months. And one of the first visitors of the year, Mr. Walrus, was one of the many people to enjoy our nice weather.
Yeah, it definitely appears that way. But take a look at this.
Yeah, this was the guy down in Kitty Vitty Village.
Yeah, as we told you last night, this massive mammal drew big crowds down to Middle Cove Beach, but I guess his tour of the Avalon isn't done just yet.
Yep, the face that snagged national news attention over the weekend, it was a quiet weekend, took advantage of a sunny day in Kitty Vitty, but unlike his last layover, the walrus appeared to want to spend a bit of alone time.
Yeah, a few fortunate hikers got a chance to visit, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not sure if he's a little
yeah, just a little bit. But nice day out in Kitty Vitty to enjoy that for sure. 13 degrees is what we reached this afternoon in St. John's. A number of areas hitting high teens, even Gander 19 degrees rather, and then 18 in Badger this afternoon. The hot spot though, Happy Valley Goose Bay, 24 degrees. Didn't quite reach the new record, but still an absolutely gorgeous day. 20 degrees in Lab City today too, and even temperatures along the coast reaching the teens. The coolest temperatures rather were if you were in onshore flow. So St. Anthony, you sat around 8 degrees today, and even Cape Race around 6 this afternoon. Now the reason for that, nice big ridge of high pressure. Temperatures have changed dramatically from yesterday. We're talking anywhere from 6 to as much as 9 degrees different than what it was 24 hours ago. Even across Lab City, you're sitting around 4 degrees warmer than what it was yesterday. So certainly seeing some of this nicer weather. Unfortunately, it isn't going to last for some of us, but at least parts of Labrador anyway, but some of this heat will definitely stick around. And the reason for that is this ridge of high pressure. It's allowing all of that warm air to move up and stick around for a couple of days. But like I said a little bit earlier, you can certainly see some of that snow still along the west coast up through parts of Labrador as well. But the good news with this one is that we're not really seeing a whole lot of wind. We haven't really talked about a lot of wind either. The windiest conditions really are up across Labrador as we speak. Winds sustained at about 26 kilometers per hour for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Not a whole lot to talk about across the island, but we factor in those wind gusts. We're talking between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour. So the winds over the next couple of days, the strongest winds will be up across the Big Land. And as far as we get into Wednesday, we'll start talking about between 60 to maybe even 70 kilometer per hour winds for coastal areas. Not a whole lot to talk about across the island. Particularly the northern peninsula is where you'll see the strongest gusts, but only between 50 and 60 kilometers per hour. By the time we get into Thursday, more widespread areas of seeing between 40 to 50, so just a bit of a breeze really, and then eventually those winds will die down as we get back into Friday, so that's certainly good news. But not a whole lot of wind out there right now. Temperatures still beautiful, beautiful evening. 13 degrees for St. John's, 17 in Twillingate right now, and then even across Labrador, temperatures still beautiful, 23 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay. So as we head through the night tonight, cool, clear temperatures. So that means that, or rather it's going to be clear and light winds. So that means that those temperatures are going to drop tonight. We should sit between 0 and about 5 degrees. Lowest lying areas should see those coolest temperatures. Not a whole lot of wind across the island, but like I said, between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour for areas across Labrador. Now, as we head through tomorrow, there's really not a whole lot happening. That ridge of high pressure is still in place, but we are going to start to see some showers develop across the Big Land. Those will move through fairly quickly tomorrow. And then as we get into the evening hours, we'll start to see those clouds increasing across the island, and then we'll see that chance of showers move through as well, particularly in the overnight. For most areas, it shouldn't amount to much, but that chance is certainly still there. So temperatures tomorrow looking absolutely gorgeous. Another beautiful day, flirting with the 20-degree mark through parts of central. Some may even see that, but areas in onshore winds will be much cooler, particularly in southern areas of the island, even across the northern peninsula and Labrador. Particularly the west, you're looking at a big drop in temperatures, about 6 degrees for Lab City. Still looking at a nice day in Happy Valley Goose Bay as far as temperatures go. Mary's Harbour, 18 degrees. Now, those temperatures are going to drop, but I'll get into those details when I come back.
This kind of weather doesn't discourage salmon anglers who are gearing up for the season, but unfortunately, it also doesn't discourage poachers. And you know from Here Now reports we have a problem with poaching in this province. Barry Fordham is an outdoor enthusiast and advocate. So Barry, you're asking the government for something that has to do with our rivers. What do you want? What are you looking for?
We've proposed to the government to hire more people as river guardians and train them as such, and also to extend their season to a longer period of time to combat the poaching going on in the rivers with nets.
So when you say the season, so opening day is June 1st? What are you suggesting, that guardians start before June 1st, or?
Yes, that's correct. The trouting season is closed until May 15th, and as well then you have the Atlantic salmon migrating into our rivers along the coastline. And we know there's lots of problems along the coastline with illegal netting going on there. And then throughout the season, in September 7th, I believe, here on the island, 15th in Labrador, the season is closed, and that, of course, is when the fishery guardians are laid off, because they work on a private contracted company called Sea-Watch.
Right.
And when they finish, then that's when the poachers are moving in. And the story is that the poachers are sitting in the parking lots waiting for that 5 o'clock to come, so when they know the fishery guardians get laid off, they can go in and have their way with the salmon once again.
Right now, have you spoken to DFO? Because DFO is responsible for part of the enforcement, and there's kind of a provincial, federal mishmash there. Any response?
We met with MP Ken MacDonald in 2019, and then COVID happened, so everything got delayed. We got in contact with them again and got all 5 of the Liberal MPs in a Zoom meeting, myself and Lucas Roberts. And from that, then they drafted a letter, which I received a copy of, that they sent to then Minister Jordan.
Federal Minister.
DFO Federal Minister Jordan. And the response I got back from her office is that she felt that there was enough people here in Newfoundland and Labrador for enforcement as it is now. You ask any salmon angler, nothing against enforcement officers, they're doing the best that they can, but you hardly ever see one. So they have large geographic areas to cover. And as well with the Inland Fish and Wildlife Enforcement, which is provincial government, and DFO federal officers, they have so many other duties and responsibilities that takes them away from scenes such as this, where they need to be to patrol the rivers.
Because, you know, I've been out on fishing trips, or trying to fish, in my case, casting trips, and we've frequently come across nets that people have bundled about or taken aside. Just to ask you one challenging question, it's a big province, and there's lots of places to fish, and it's almost, you know, how could you ever have enough guardians? You know what I mean? Between the technology with cameras and all that, but it's such an expansive province. The rivers are out there. You know, how do you make sure that you put them in the right places if you were to get them?
Well, one good indication of that will be the history that the DFO and the province has on where the poaching activities are concentrated to, and that's where you'd want to then do that. For technology, like you said, we were talking about that there the other night at the same board of directors meeting that I was at, about possibly talking to the government about getting drone technology to monitor the rivers even more closely.
So what makes you think that enforcement is the solution? Because I think everybody knows there's kind of a Wild West in certain parts of the island where poaching happens. But why is more guardians a solution, or as opposed to, say, an education program? Or
public education is good, but it's slow to start and slow to catch on. And we've been doing public education for how long? Yeah. And we're still back in the day stuck with it's my fish, it's my God-given right. Enforcement is the answer, along with stiffer fines and penalties. Enforcement provides a presence on the river. So if you're there fishing away and there's an enforcement officer there, you're not going to be doing anything illegal. And presence of anglers on the rivers then also deters poachers as well. Big important message we like to promote as well with this is that we, the outdoor people, we have to start to step up to the plate to start to report this kind of activity, because if we don't, they're doing it right in front of our eyes and they have free reign of it. If the fines and the penalties, etc., get increased, people will think twice. And I guarantee you, after the first dozen or so people are prosecuted, people are going to start to think twice of whether to do this or not, because it seems that it's not that there's more poachers on the go, it seems more people breaking law because they see there's nobody there to keep them in check.
Well, listen, Barry, I know you care about these issues deeply. We'll see what DFO has to say about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And if you're out in the great outdoors, whether you're fishing or hunting, and you see any kind of suspicious activity, report a poacher. Call the Crime Stoppers line or the provincial number. Both are totally anonymous.
Now, Barry Fordham's concerns came up in the House of Commons yesterday. Clifford Small, the province's only Conservative member of Parliament, asked the Federal Fisheries Minister if she intends to extend the number of delays that Guardians get to be assigned to salmon rivers, and Joyce Murray was non-committal.
The Minister has had this brought to her attention, and it's now decision time. She knows what's in her mandate letter, and it's about protecting Atlantic salmon. Will she commit to adding extra weeks to the River Guardian program, or will she continue to neglect Atlantic salmon stocks?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And our goal is the conservation of stocks of all kinds on both the East Coast and the West Coast. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans works with Guardian programs and their conservation and protection officers to be available and ensure that the rules are followed, and we will continue to do that, as well as work with Indigenous guardians more and more to do this very important work. Thank you.
A Torbay woman says her 78-year-old mother is under a lot of stress while she waits for heart surgery. Here Now's Mark Quinn sat down with the woman's daughter, and here's more of that conversation.
So I guess to start off, tell me about your mother. Who is your mother?
My mother is Catherine Connors. She's 78 years old. She is a beautiful person, of course I'm going to say that, but she's the matriarch of our family. She's just one of those people who everybody loves. She's so good to others. She would never ask for anything to get in front of anyone. She would never put herself first. She's usually, you know, she's a very selfless person, all I can say. She's a beautiful woman, and she's taken care of me all my life, and now I feel like it's my turn to help advocate for her.
And now she needs some medical care. What kind of care is she waiting for?
She does. She needs an aortic valve replacement, and she is awaiting a TAVI procedure. So it's the, they put the valve in through an artery, and it's a relatively newer procedure, but there's less recovery. It's much easier on the patient. So she is anxiously awaiting.
And why does she need the aortic valve replacement?
So she was born with what's called a bicuspid. She's missing a flap in her heart, kind of a little flap, and she didn't know that was a condition she had. So it's a congenital condition, you're born with it. And she had a heart attack in 2014, and they diagnosed at that time with her with bicuspid. So she had stenting. She was fine, did very well after, and has maintained her health since that point. But in the just before COVID, things started to get a little worse, which they anticipated, and so she was worked up to see the status of her heart. She had some, the more intensive investigations, and it was determined that it was time for her to have it, in addition to some of the symptoms which had been progressing. It's scary. It's very scary. I mean, I feel like we're being deceived. Mom has required a couple emergency room visits. When things are going wrong, she required a sternal rub to come back around, which is, she was on her way to her heart stopping. And instead of getting a bed in the back, she sat up in a chair for 8 hours. We're in the hospital, and she should be getting care. She should be resting on a bed, getting tests done, getting assessed, and she sat up in a chair in emergency. We're in Canada.
And when was she originally scheduled to have the procedure?
So what happens is when you're accepted into the TAVI program, you go on a list. So I believe that was October, November of 2021 she was accepted.
And has she been scheduled and canceled a number, or postponed a number of times?
This is the closest we got to having a true date, this May 12th. About a month ago, I spoke, just after I guess she got out of had that emergency room episode where she nearly coded. I spoke with the coordinator again, and she had said to me that I believe she said like 95% chance she would be done, because of all the goings on. And unfortunately, she and another patient were canceled or postponed because the previous week they only got 3 cases done versus 5 on the day they were scheduled. So
she first got on the list in the fall of 2021.
Correct.
You've been waiting ever since.
Yes.
You finally get a date on May the 12th, and then it's postponed.
Postponed.
What was that like to have that postponed?
That was heartbreaking. When Mom called me and told me it was just, she's so upset, and we've been waiting. I have 2 siblings who are away, anxiously away, and not understanding why this is, well, I shouldn't say they're not understanding. They're both in Canada now. My sister had been in London, England, working for a while. She's back in Canada now. But it's, it just ignites all that fear again. You're hopeful, and then you lose that hope when that date goes. And certainly when Mom's so upset, because she's, like I said, she's not really a person to get, she puts herself last, unfortunately. But when she hurts, we all hurt. And of course, Mother's Day, that's all she wanted to get her TAVI procedure done. So the disappointment of that was quite significant.
Now, clearly it's been really stressful for your family. Have you looked at other alternatives, going somewhere else perhaps?
Yes, we have. We have explored other options, but the same problems occur elsewhere. The only other option would be to travel to the U.S. to pay for that procedure, but that would be, financially significant. It's about $150,000 to get the procedure, and my parents don't have that kind of money to do that.
So your family's got its fingers crossed for June 2nd.
June 2nd.
What would happen if June 2nd doesn't happen?
I'm not sure. I'm fearful that, this could change significantly at any point. The heart is a delicate instrument when challenged, and that's the fear we have. I think one of the huge problems with the having a surgery is you need a care afterwards, because Mom will be admitted to hospital and stay at least one night. There's no beds available post-operatively, so that's another issue. And between COVID patients and medically discharged patients who need long-term care, they're clogging up the beds of post-op care. And I think that's part of the issue with the lack of surgeries that are happening is part of it. I just feel like we're not being told the truth about everything from the health minister, for one. And I think the PR or the spin that comes out from Eastern Health is not fully truthful, and I find that really disheartening. I think the people of Newfoundland are quite resilient. We're very good in crisis. I think knowing more of the truth won't cause panic. We know we're in a crisis.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear your family's going through this. I'm sure it's very stressful, but thank you for speaking to us about this case, your family's case, and of course we wish we wish you all the best and that she gets the surgery she needs. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bill Rowe has a new book out, The Reincarnation of Winston Churchill, a bit of a departure and an interesting connection between Churchill and Indigenous people. Stay tuned. Well, The Reincarnation of Winston Churchill is Bill Rowe's latest book. Something of a departure, I'm assuming, Mr. Rowe, given the title, The Reincarnation, that this is a work of fiction.
That's a work of fiction, and not only a work of fiction, but a work of fiction that took me about 5 times as long to write as any of the other works of fiction I've done.
So it must be 5 times better.
I hope. I'm hoping it's the masterpiece, but a lot of research involved, because it involves Winston Churchill, whose method of taking on, when nobody else believed it or believed him, taking on the Nazis and Hitler, that always gripped me. Why did he do that? Why? His class, his nation, they didn't go along with him at all. They wanted to appease Hitler, except for this guy. So there was that gripped me. And the other thing that has gripped me all my life is the tragic demise of the Beothuk here in Newfoundland. Now, a lot of people don't realize how the close connections between Churchill and Newfoundland.
How do we connect these two, Mr. Rowe?
Well, the reason they're connected in this book, if not in reality, but certainly in this book, is that Winston Churchill was descended through his mother, his American mother, from East Coast indigenous North Americans. And he relished that. He used to boast about it.
Really?
He said to Franklin Roosevelt one time, when Roosevelt was boasting to Winston in a meeting, he was saying, "Winston, did you know that my ancestors were the first settlers on Manhattan Island?" And Churchill said, "And did you know, Franklin, that my ancestors said hello to them as they came ashore?"
Now, Churchill is such a larger-than-life figure, and I certainly, did my own studies of him in university, and a controversial man, a fascinating man, a well-read man, a great writer. I think most people watching who know a little bit about the history of Newfoundland and Labrador know that he and Roosevelt met off the shores of our island in a very important conference.
Yeah.
What was it about Churchill that made you want to write a piece of historical fiction?
Well, there's so many connections with Newfoundland. There's what you just mentioned, the meeting in Placentia Bay with Roosevelt. The American bases here, that was Churchill's brainchild. Yeah. The Botwood installation, during the Second World War, Churchill's brainchild. The first vessel, enemy vessel, captured in North America during the Second World War was in Botwood in Newfoundland as a result of Churchill's order.
Now, you're dealing with all the facts of history. Historical fiction, of course, takes those facts and the research you did and then weaves in a plot and things which are not factual. Yeah. Is this a thriller? What kind of read is this?
It is a thriller, and it's full of suspense. But what the theme of the whole thing is that Churchill's North American indigenous ancestry was what galvanized him, got him going into taking on Hitler and the Nazis. He was well aware of what had happened to the Beothuks. He knew, and I go through it in chapter and verse, Damas Jewett, Mary March, Shannon Dithit. He was aware of all that, and the tragedy of it caused by stupid, ignorant, racist people from England who happened to be living in Newfoundland. He was aware of it, and he made a decision in his own mind that he could never allow this to happen again. Now, he wouldn't have thought in this direction if it hadn't been for his close kinship in his mind to the indigenous people of North America and Newfoundland and Nova Scotia.
It's a fascinating connection you've drawn, and I certainly, I like to think that I'm fairly well read when it comes to Churchill. I haven't realized this. Now, maybe it's a bit of a stretch. Maybe it's a case. I guess the only way will be for you to actually read the book. Yeah. What do you hope people take away from this book, Bill?
Well, I hope they take away from the book the fact that there are a lot of, as I mentioned, there are a lot of stupid people in this world. The Trumpites, the people who are supporting Putin, for example. And there are some people who sort of stave off that stupidity and ignorance and racism and God knows what else by their courage. Churchill was one of those. He was a racist, he was an anti-Semite and so, but he saw beyond that. He saw beyond his class and his times to do what needed to be done, what he knew was right to be done. And thank God, we can see now what's happening in Ukraine. Thank God there are people like the president of Ukraine who model themselves on Winston Churchill rather than on Putin or Trump.
All right. Bill Rowe, it's always a pleasure. Certainly piqued my curiosity and interest. Thanks a lot, and good luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, the good publishers of Boulder gave us a couple of copies that you can win one of these copies. Send an email to hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca. And the trivia question for you is, before Joey renamed the longest river in Atlantic Canada, that was the Churchill River, the body of water, had 2 other names in its past. Maybe a trick question. What were they? So we're looking for the 2 previous names of the Churchill River. And a clue for you, one isn't in English. So send your answers to hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca. And I'll put another question now on Twitter.
Actually, it's not good enough that we have nice weather. We need the nice weather to continue as long as is humanly possible. So now that you're looking at the long-range forecast, how long does the nice sunny weather stick around?
We've got a couple more days depending on where you are, but it's been a lovely stretch of weather. Sunshine, the temperature's climbing, but as we head into Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, we're going to start talking about some potential for some snow again in some areas. Let's take a look at what's going on. Future Tracker will time that out nicely for you. You can see some of that white and blue showing up on the Future Tracker up across Labrador as we head through Thursday morning. This is where we're going to see the main chance of some flurries. Likely falling is rain, though, by the time we get into the morning, particularly in and around Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and the coastal areas of Labrador as well. And then the rain will continue through at least Wednesday night into the first half of Thursday for the eastern half of the island as well. It's just a chance of showers. It shouldn't amount to much, but that risk certainly still there. And then as we head into Thursday, that area of low pressure pulls off further. It should pull some of that cloud cover with it. Likely going to be a bit more sunshine than what this model is showing as far as that dense cloud cover through the day on Thursday. But you are looking at that cool down, certainly up across Labrador, back down to the single digits. This is below where you should be sitting actually this time of year. Hovering around 3 degrees, do have that potential for some flurries in for you across Nain. But you will see the sun at times as well. Now, still hanging on to these nice temperatures for a good chunk of the island. We're talking between 13 to 19 degrees, a little cooler for the northern peninsula as some of that colder air settles a little bit further south. We're looking at 7 degrees in St. Anthony, 5 along the Straits, but temperatures still fairly nice. 17 degrees it looks like in St. John's through the day on Thursday. And then things will stay nice, it looks like, through Friday. Another beautiful day expected through a good chunk of the province as we head through Friday morning. We will see a little bit of cloud cover, it looks like, creep in as we head into the evening hours, but overall not a bad day. Some showers will move in late day. But overall, those temperatures are going to start to dip in some areas. We should be talking about teens, though, and then even up across Labrador, back up to 12 degrees for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. So as we head through into Sunday, it does look like we're going to look at that cool down, about 8 degrees by the time we get there for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. And overnight lows dipping again back down to the minus single digits. Now, as far as central Newfoundland goes, we're looking at a fairly nice end to the week. Maybe a few showers popping around. Didn't put that in the icon there, but we still may see that. Certainly some showers possible on Saturday and Sunday, but your temperatures should stay into the teens as well. And then for the rest of the big land, you're looking at those temperatures back up again by Friday, down again. So definitely a roller coaster for you, but Western Labrador, you're looking at some rain by the time we get to Sunday. Weather picture of the day coming from southwestern Newfoundland, Port aux Basques area. Not a cloud in the sky. Thank you, John, for that. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Beautiful blue skies.
Blue
Love it.
and clear.
Nothing better than blue sky and sunshine, especially this time of year.
Yes, especially in Newfoundland.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very blue today.
It
Well,
was.
I'm a little blue, Peter Cowan. This is our last show together.
It is.
Yeah.
You're heading off to Radioland.
Yes, my last show with Here Now is tomorrow, and Karen will be back. But I just want to say, Peter, it's been a pleasure co-hosting Here and Now with you very frequently throughout this pandemic, and I'm sure we'll work again, but I'll say farewell to you.
Thank you very much. You can leave those ties. I like that one. You won't need it in radio.
You'll have to clutch it from my hands.
That can be arranged.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.